Hi, my name's Kim and I work for the Early Years Alliance. Today I'm going to be talking about speaking skills. I'm going to be talking about why they're important, how they develop, and how you can support your child at home. Speaking skills are really important to all of us as human beings, and they form part of our prime areas under communication and language in the early years framework. They're really important for all of us because they help us to develop our social skills. They give us a tool to use to share our thoughts, our ideas, our needs and our wants. They make us feel confident when we know we can communicate with others. And they also help us with our learning. For example, when your children get older, if they can say what they want to write down, it will certainly come in handy when they go to write it down on the paper. So how does it develop? Well, young babies are born ready to communicate. When they're really little, they will look closely at your face and they will try to mimic what you're doing with your very own face. So for example, a really good rhyme, The Little Green Frog, which you may have heard of, involves sticking out your tongue. And the more you sing it with your baby, then more that likely they're going to mimic it back to you and start sticking out their tongue and sharing some communication with you. They also learn that crying and making noises will get your attention. So if they're hungry, they cry, and you come to them. And that's their beginning to understand how to communicate with you and the beginning of their communication and speaking skills. You can support your young baby by giving them opportunities to explore the very own sounds that they can make and to also make sure you're meeting their needs when they're calling to you and communicating with you. A good game you can play with a baby is peekaboo, using something that's quite see-through so they can still see you when you're behind it and don't think you've disappeared completely. You can play peekaboo. Peek-a-boo. And then when you reveal yourself and you say boo and you do it quite a few times, your baby might respond with their very own sounds. You can also help them by making sure you're getting really close to them physically so they can really see your facial features and your expressions really clearly. As your baby gets a little bit older, between 6 and 12 months, they'll start babbling and cooing to themselves and to others, and they'll start to smile and laugh at others as they smile and laugh too. They'll be watching your face incredibly carefully and continue to mimic some of those expressions that you're doing yourself. As they get older still, between the ages of about 1 and 2, they'll start to make some babbling strings, so they'll be going mum, 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 ba, 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 ba. And they will also start to use pointing and eye gaze to communicate with you. So they might be pointing and looking at their juice, for example. What you can do to support them is to hold up what they're looking at and what they want and say the word juice. So they know what it's called, and they will start to hear that word, and then they will start to be able to say that word as they get a little bit older. They might begin to use gestures and some simple very first words as they get a little bit older, maybe around 18 months. And these first words might be a little unclear, but you as a first educator and the person who spends the most time with your child will most probably be the one who understands them. And the first words that they're going to say are probably the words they hear the most. Things like mum or dad or cat, whatever it is they hear you saying quite frequently at home. If your child spends a lot of time with other people, they'll start to learn as well what your child is saying. You can support them at this point by listening and tuning in really carefully, listening carefully to what they're trying to say. For example, if they're pointing at the pet cat and they say cat, you can say yes, a cat, so they can hear how it should be said. Don't dismiss what they're saying because that will help them to lose confidence, and we want to be really supportive. So always just reinforce how it should sound by saying the word correctly, clearly and slowly back to them. You can also, by the age of 2, hear that they will start to be stringing some words together, maybe making sentences of 2 or 3 words. So when they're wanting some juice, for example, pointing to their juice, they might say juice. You could pick it up and say more juice, and they know that when they want more juice, the 2 words they need to say are more juice. So you can be supported by putting those words together and demonstrating some of those sentences so that they can then start trying to say those sentences back to you themselves. Repetition is really, really important as well. So when you're saying goodbye, for example, bye bye mummy, bye bye mummy, and you say that every time you say goodbye, they start to understand, that's what we say when we say goodbye, and have a go at saying it themselves. Repetition really is quite key to our communication. You could also have a little go at looking at pictures together or talking about those things that really interest your child so that they're building up that vocabulary that they can have a little go at saying themselves. As they get a little bit older, over the age of 2, they're going to start to join a few more words together and their speech is going to come a little bit more clearer. They're still going to find some words tricky to say and they won't be as clear as they will be when they get to school age. And they will find some of those sounds a little bit tricky to say. For example, spider might come across as pider. As I mentioned before, be really supportive and just repeat back the word as it should sound. By about the age of 3, they'll start to be having some simple conversations with you, asking more questions, using words like what and where. And their sentences might be 4 or 5 words long, such as, my daddy play football. They're also going to be trying to use lots of different types of words, so words that describe actions, describing words, prepositional words like in, off, out, and they also might talk about how many things they have or the who's that they're talking about, mummy, daddy, grandma, maybe even the cat's name. So they're going to be experimenting more with those words that they've been hearing from you since they were born. Continue to support them by making sure you have time to talk in your day. Talk about what they've been doing, talk about what you're doing. Do lots and lots of talking wherever you are. Outside's a great place to introduce some of that language because there's so much to see and do. You can be talking about all of those things that you observe when you're outside. All this talking and immersing your child in this world of communication is great because it means they're hearing and learning the vocabulary linked to different things, and they're then having the opportunity to talk back to you. So have a go at saying those words that they know and they understand. And all of that practice and all of those opportunities will develop an excellent talker in your child. You can also use prompts for conversation when you're talking. So not just what you observe, but what you're doing. If you're eating ice cream, for example, in the summer, you can say, oh, I love ice cream. Do you like ice cream? Ice cream's really cold, isn't it? And again, building that conversation around something that you're doing at that moment in time. Do be wary not to ask too many questions to your child. Your child will still need that processing time to think about what you've asked them and come up with what they want to say and then work out how to get that out of their mouth and their voice to you. So make sure if you do ask questions that you don't ask too many, and always give your child plenty of time to think about what they want to say and give them plenty of time to put that into words to say back to you. Role play is also really a great tool for practicing talking. So you could be having your teddy bear's picnic and you're pouring your tea for your teddy bear. I'm going to pour teddy bear cup of tea. Do you want a cup of tea, teddy bear? Oh, I bet you do. Do blow on it. It's very, very hot. Lots and lots of talking comes into role play, and as you're playing with your child, all that modelling that you're doing for them, showing them the sorts of things you might talk about when you're having a cup of tea and what the words sound like and what those sentences sound like are going to help your child to then use them and try out saying them themselves. So role play is an excellent tool, particularly as your child gets a little bit older and is able to say quite a few more words. By the ages of about 4 or 5, they're going to be speaking a lot more clearly and lots more people are going to be able to understand them, particularly that wider amount of people who spend time with them, like teachers and play workers and extended family. They're going to be speaking in longer sentences and joining those sentences together with words such as and. They're going to be using talk in their play and also using it to plan their play with others. So they're going to be using their speech to interact with not just grown-ups, but all of those children that they might meet and might be playing with. They're also going to be asking those why questions, so look forward to that part of their development, because they do like to ask a lot of why questions, and that's so that they can use their speaking skills to start learning about the world around them, which is why speaking is also another really important skill. They might even start wanting to try telling jokes. And again, it's really fun to hear little children's jokes. They don't always make sense, but it's their attempt at speaking and using communication in another way. So there's lots of things you can be doing to support your child. But what I will say is, from the minute your child is born, try to tune into them. Make sure you model lots by getting close to them, speaking slowly and clearly, and reinforcing those words with prompts and actions. This is where rhymes are really, really helpful, and you can be singing rhymes like Incy Wincy Spider and so on as soon as your baby is born. It's great to immerse them because they love hearing your sing-song voice, hearing the intonation of your voice, and starting to already begin to hear those words and make links to those words with the actions and the songs that they hear from you regularly. Repetition is key, so make sure you repeat those rhymes lots and lots and lots. You can never repeat it too much, and children love to sing, so it's something they're always going to enjoy. Make sure as well that you read to your child, because reading introduces your child to such a world of communication, different kinds of sentences and words, and again, lots of stories that are aimed at really young children can be very repetitive and very familiar. So you have lots of books like these Christmassy books that I've picked here that have lots of repeated phrases in, so your children can start to build up a bit of a dictionary in their head, a resource to go to for when they're speaking. So make sure you're reading to your child from a really young age. Again, repetition is key. You can never read a book too much. Even when you're shopping, you can support your child with their speaking skills right from the day they're born. When they're really, really little and they're starting to learn about all these different words for different things around them, you can pick things up before you put them in your trolley, and you can tell them what it is. Banana, banana, and pop it in your trolley. As they get a bit older, you can say it and pass it to them so they can explore it and make that connection between the word and the object that you're giving to them. Again, as they get a little bit older and become past the age of 1, you can start adding words in. Banana, in. So you're putting the banana in the trolley and they're starting to learn, that's what in means. I'm going to start saying that word myself, and they can start saying it back to you. As they get a bit older, you can ask them to find things for you, or you can show them things and say, what is this? And they can start having a go at saying those words that they've been learning from you since they've been shopping with you since they were born. So that's our trolley challenge, which is really, really helpful too. Just one hint, lots of children do have dummies that help to soothe them, and they're great for sleep time. But during the daytime, when they're really active and wanting to have a go at saying these words that they're learning, it's really important that they don't have their dummy in too much, because that dummy will stop them from experimenting with sounds. Even when they're really little, it will stop them from babbling and experimenting with the sounds that their mouth can make. So although dummies are really great for comforting and for sleep time, trying to make sure that they're not in their mouth too much so that we can encourage these speaking skills that I've been talking about today. If you visit the Early Years YouTube channel, you will find many of my colleagues have put up some brilliant videos with lots of rhymes on that you can use to help develop your children's speech and language skills. And you'll also find some stories on there too. You can also find other advice at Family Corner, www.familycorner.co.uk. Thank you for watching today, and I will see you again soon. Bye.